lot of good work calling out these kind of videos. Now here's another stinky video here. So this guy gets called out because he walks across the track she's about to do lunges on and looks at her on the way by. Then she says that she catches him still staring. There's no way, I'm so uncomfortable right now. And then the caption even says, in quotes, "It's because of your outfit." I don't know if she's accusing him of saying that, like he shouts it at her across the room. "Excuse me, m'lady. I looked at you because of your outfit. You drew my eyes to you. It's your fault." Or if she's just saying that as like a way of calling out behavior, I'm really not sure. But Joey Swole, when he talked about this video, pointed out something that I think everyone who's ever been to the gym will recognize. That not only is the guy not staring, again, the reason why he'd look at her while walking by is because he's going by her path on the track. So perhaps he was looking at her to make sure he wasn't getting in her way since she was about to start lunges. I feel like that's the most obvious explanation here, but regardless, he doesn't do anything creepy or weird. He looks at her while he's walking by, and once he's through, he continues going forward. Like, I don't understand where this is coming from. To me, it feels like this lady has recorded every single one of her gym sessions for the last week or so after noticing that this kind of content was blowing up, praying that someone would be weird and creepy to her, but she didn't get that, so she just decided to go with the one that's almost somewhat different, where a guy looks at her when he walks by, and chose that one for some clicks. Because nothing bad happens here. There's not a weirdo here. And according to Joey Swole, a lot of members of the gym, both men and women, said that this man is very kind and is actually loved at the gym. He's a regular here. So it is pretty fucked up and shitty for her to make this video trying to shame him for doing nothing wrong.
This guy.
Still no progress here. What? Still no progress.
Let me clear your mind of regret.
This isn't a trend that only women are doing, men are doing the same thing. This fucking douchebag is filming in the locker room, flexing to show his progress. The guy in the back that he's calling a schmuck is 100% right. You cannot be filming in the fucking locker room. Like, what do you think this is, Brazzers? Like, what the fuck are you even thinking? What's going through your smooth brain? Everyone just loves to think that they're the main character, and everyone that interferes in their story and does more than just be a prop for their TikTok videos is the villain, when that's just not the reality. You are the bad guy here, not the guy you're calling out. If you want to take progress photos and videos, which I totally understand, just wait till you get home, or at the absolute least, wait until you're the only person in that locker room. Because right now you have two people behind you changing. They could have just gone whole hog, let their cock and balls flop out, and if you film them in a private setting without their consent, their nudity, you would be fucked legally.
Watch this guy try move to me at the gym. Checks absolutely nothing on his phone over at me being busy sorting my wrist straps.
I'll keep an eye out.
These fucking straps taking up too much time.
I don't know what constitutes a stare anymore. Like, this guy, again, just glances in her direction, briefly looks at his phone and puts it away, and apparently that's getting called out for being weird, saying he checks nothing on his phone. He could have just been checking the time. He could have been checking literally anything that's quick to get at a glance, like, what time is it? Or if he had a timer set up for, like, how much rest he has between sets, how much time do I have left on my rest? Like, there's so many things he could have been checking on his phone, but it doesn't matter. Like, he didn't do anything weird or wrong right now. All he did was walk by, and he looked over near you.
Makes a swift return. Sad lip.
And there it is. The second he decided to ask a question, his fate was sealed. He was getting shamed on TikTok for it. So, he comes over and asks if she's using the machine behind her. As Joey Swole also points out, and as anyone that ever goes to the gym will also point out, people like to check to make sure the machines are vacant. They don't want to step on any toes and take a machine that's already being occupied, so maybe her things were near the machine and he wanted to double check to make sure she wasn't using it in addition to doing the RDLs. Like, that is just being polite. That is normal gym etiquette. But let's assume this guy is new to the gym. She seems to think he is and is insulting him for it, making fun of him for not knowing the name of the machine. So don't you think someone that's a little new to the gym would like to be super certain that he's not getting in anyone's way? So he would like to ask someone that's near the machine to make sure that he has full reign to use it without intruding on their workout. He did nothing wrong, but it didn't matter. He made a slight glance near her, a split second of his eyes looking around before checking his phone, and that small, insignificant thing was enough to put a crosshair on him and for her to attack. I think she's the weirdo. You're the gym weirdo. Filming everyone around you, looking for people to call out. That shit is creepy. Not this guy just innocently asks if you are using the machine behind you. Totally normal question, totally normal interaction, and this behavior is getting so fucking out of control. People are turning gyms into war zones where they're looking at every single micro angle of your eyes and counting it as a stare if you happen to catch them somewhere in your general vision vicinity. It's fucking despicable. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this a little bit, and that's about it. So yeah. Alright, fine, you caught me red-handed. There's no use in trying to hide it and keep it a secret. Nothing gets by you guys. Yes, I did just get back from playing Thursday night pickup basketball with the boys. And yes, I did perform like Allen Iverson in his prime. But we don't need to just hyper-fixate on that. I mean, you guys are just really just focused on it way too heavily. Or maybe you're just so distracted by this beautiful retro moist jersey that I'm wearing. It's a little sneak peek, a little teaser for an upcoming basketball wear line we're doing. But please, you're a real chatty Cathy. Can you stop talking about basketball for 2 seconds? Yes, I play like Luka if he got hit with a shrinking beam, right? I get it, you know, little Luka out there. But just because I'm incredible with basketball doesn't mean that that's what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about is a very interesting gym dispute that I've never quite seen before. I've seen a lot of gym freakouts and really goofy things that happen there, especially in the modern age where every single person's workout appears to be filmed now for TikTok. It's when you go into a gym, I imagine it's like going onto a movie set right now. They're doing like 15 different indie films at every single corner of the gym. I haven't been to a public gym in a while. I built one at the warehouse a couple of years ago, and that was such a fucking blessing. That was crucial because I couldn't stand to be at a gym that is just nothing but cameras recording every single nook and cranny of the establishment. It'd be miserable. And today there was someone recording their back workout, and it led to an argument because he was doing it shirtless. Now listen here, sports fans, I'm gonna give you the brass tacks. You don't get pythons like these puppies unless you're praying at the Iron Temple actively. And for me, I've spent about 10 years in gyms. And also, I'm gonna go just get ahead of this here before some of you in the comments attack me like mosquitoes swarming a Hershey's bar that was left out in the rain. I know a lot of people say that my physique isn't representative of what 10 years in the gym should look like. Then I say, bah humbug, I've gone through the jacked, yoked stage, and at 5'6", I just didn't like how I looked. I looked like a goofy little meatball. So now I just keep myself looking this way on purpose, going for more of a shredded, lean, muscular physique. Don't know why I felt the need to explain that, but figured might as well. Point is, in all of my years in the gym, it has always been proper etiquette to wear a shirt during the workout, except for a couple of exceptions where it is acceptable to not do that. There's a few locations in my local area where there's plenty of people working out shirtless, and there's no problem with that. But when you're going to just like a normal public gym, where it's just, you know, a wide range of clientele that isn't necessarily like powerlifters or anything like that, just heavily lifting, it's usually encouraged that you keep your shirt on. So I'm imagining that's what this place was, like the place where you're supposed to keep your shirt on. So I can understand maybe one person being like, that's kind of douchey. But this guy gets so fucking upset at seeing a shirtless man that he starts recording it, and then it devolves into a heated argument that I half expected to go Looney Tunes and have like grand pianos falling on each other's heads. more mad about seeing this guy shirtless than he would be if he found out his girlfriend was cheating on him. He is fuming. Like, the response to just less than proper gym etiquette is overblown here from this individual. Okay, so the protagonist here isn't supposed to be shirtless. Got it. If you have a huge problem with it, why not just go say something like, hey, do you mind putting your shirt back on? You're scaring me. I don't like to see a man chest. Put a shirt on, please. Like, just go talk it out. Instead, he, like, just goes right up in front of him and starts filming, which is I am so tired of that being the trend. When anything is going on that's a little out of the ordinary, everyone's first instinct now is just to start recording that shit. I mean, I guess I sometimes like that because it's really silly videos, but man, it is just out of control. It has completely replaced normal human instincts and common sense on how you'd respond to something you don't like. You usually just ignore it, or maybe just roll your eyes and walk away. Now you put yourself in the position you don't like for as long as possible so you can keep recording and continuously just escalate your own inner anger. It's a baffling concept to me. But that's exactly what happens here. He just stands there, he records. Eventually, the guy who's being recorded is now like, hey, why are you doing that? And then he's like, it's weird because you're not wearing a shirt. And then he just starts dropping slurs. Like, he is so upset, he is throwing around slurs at this stranger here.
So I don't even know this dude. And I am confused about what's going on. I don't understand why he's pushing and stuff. So he continues to stare at me and flip me off the mouth. So I just had to say something.
Man, this NPC here just hit a water bottle slam in response to this, and then started rolling up on the guy like it was something out of a horror video game, just marching his way up there to give him a piece of his mind. Which, again, probably should have been the first thing he did instead of start escalating this shit by recording it and then calling him slurs. You could have just walked up and said, hey, do you mind putting your shirt back on? You know, finish your set, put your shirt back on, it's not that big of a deal. But instead, he's gone through all this hoopla and made the situation far bigger than it ever should have been. I don't know why he's this upset about a guy not wearing a shirt. It is a crazy response to that.
I don't know, you're talking, buddy. Talking across the fucking gym. What do you think? What are you talking about? I don't know. What are you talking about? Fuck you. Yeah, I'll fuck you up. Yeah. Fuck.
What an interesting exchange there. That was some shit straight out of Skyrim. He just comes up with the wackiest dialogue tree after slamming his water bottle. Fuck! Shirtless man, damn you! And then marches over, and then he's just like, what are you talking about? He's trying his best to make it seem like he's not the weird one here, saying that the other guy was talking to him from across the gym, but meanwhile, he was the one that was recording him, and then calling him slurs. It doesn't add up. And he's doing it all with this really confused smile on his face. Like, it's just such a odd set of circumstances. A lot of the comments on this video compared the looks of this man to Eli Manning, and I can't unsee it. This actually does look like Eli Manning in an alternate universe. Anyway, dude comes up and makes threats saying that he'll fuck him up over not wearing a shirt is a crazy thing to try and fight about. But he's doing all of this with like a really big smile on his face, like he is grinning ear to ear. I can't tell if he wanted to fight or fuck this guy. I'm really not sure what his plan was or what he was wanting to happen. If I was to be an armchair psychologist, to me this seems like the sight of the shirtless man made him have thoughts that he wasn't happy about, so then he had this crazy big response because he felt bad about maybe being attracted to it. I really don't know. I can't think of a rational, reasonable explanation for why somebody would get this mad at something so small. Yes, if this is a gym that doesn't allow shirts to be off, it is improper etiquette to have your shirt off, but it's super easily solvable without this kind of hostility by just asking them to put their shirt back on, or even telling just gym staff, be like, hey, that guy's got his shirt off, you might want to talk to him about it, if you don't want to be the one to do it. Like, it's so easy without it being a big song and dance. I just had to share this because this really was a head scratcher of a video for me, getting this mad about something so insignificant. That's really about it. So yeah.
That skill's not ready. I'll keep you safe.
Hey, it's that magical time again where we get to point, laugh, and shoot spitballs at a creepy degenerate being weird to a woman. So I hope you've done all of your smile exercises, because we're gonna be putting a big old grin on that face and having a hoot and a holler at this guy's expense.
So, crazy but I'm just curious. I know you don't like coffee. And I know you don't. I can't do that yet. On the other side, right? I know you're about 30.
So Goober approaches this woman who's on the leg press machine, and he immediately just starts listing off things he knows about her, which just sounds like some stalker shit. Like, it sounds like a mission out of Hitman, where Agent 47's being given a dossier and going over his target's interests and like where they might be so they can plan out the assassination. This is just like such a creepy, cold open here. I know I'm reading way too deep into this situation and it's starting to get dangerously delusional, but for some reason when I first saw this clip, it immediately reminded me of a climactic moment in an action movie when the villain is monologuing to the hero like a fucking phone call. It's weird. I'm assuming she'll try.
This has been probably one of the saddest things that I've seen in gaming ever since Starfield. So about once every 6 months, game journalists decide to take the small sliver of credibility that they have and cut it in half. This has happened with Veilguard, it happened with Concord before this, it happened with Starfield, and it's just been happening over and over and over.
Just the other day, we were talking about Dragon Age the Veilguard and how the review embargo lifted, causing the discourse around that game to proliferate.
Of
and already
course.
since then, 2 other major things have occurred that have caused the biggest shills for this game to absolutely lose their minds. One being the situation with YouTuber Mr. Matty Plays, and the other being the situation with news publication Dual Shockers. The Dual Shockers situation is going to be much more brief to go over, so let's start with that one. On October 28th, they posted their official Dragon Age the Veilguard review, and one particular line that they wrote in their review has caused a number of gaming journalists to get very upset on social media. Specifically, that being this area, where they say, it's a game that clearly has had a bit of the Sweet Baby Inc. treatment in spots when it comes to its character background and storytelling, and it's a game that is willing to offer fan service by giving old characters little cameo appearances, but unwilling to truly cater to the wants and needs of long-serving Dragon Age fans. The Sweet Baby Inc. thing is what's...
I bet they're not happy about that, are they? I bet they're mad about that one. And this is the problem with journalists, is that a lot of the journalists try to enforce a same think across all of the different people that are reviewing games. So it's like they don't want to see a person that goes outside of the box that they've created for themselves. So it's like nobody is allowed to like address this or give it any credibility. And when you do, when you see a person that does this, all of the other journalists get mad about it. Nobody's objective? No, they're not objective. You can't rely on people to be objective, but you should rely on them not to be corrupt.
really setting these people off. Now, to be fair, the wording there could be a bit better because it might confuse some people into thinking that SPI had anything to do with Veilguard, which I don't believe it did.
It was
However,
just a phrase.
I think it's reasonable to conclude that the author is simply referencing similarities with Veilguard and SPI affiliated games in regards to how some things are written, like some of the characters, the story, etc. For example, paraphrasing that part of Skillup's review, where he mentioned that it felt like Veilguard was written with HR constantly in the room. Now, here's the really funny...
It absolutely was. Anybody can see that. And you want to know the reason why so many people got super excited about that game I just showed? The real reason why a lot of people got super excited about it is because it's a game that very clearly doesn't pull any punches, like this one here, the Showa American story. It's a game that doesn't pull any punches, and it's a game that has a true, like, identity of itself, and it looks like it's something that's an authentic piece of art rather than just something that's been created through like a test tube. It looks like they're not afraid. Yeah, exactly. Like, it gives off the vibe that, like, basically this is a problem that I have with a lot of modern stories, is that even the villains in modern stories are unwilling to do things that are considered socially unacceptable nowadays in like culture. And so a lot of characters and stories that are written now are written with so many guardrails that it doesn't feel like you're seeing an authentic, a real experience. You don't have that escapism whenever you're watching this. It's sanitized writing, exactly. A true villain never misgenders someone. Yeah, exactly. China is taking advantage of the discourse in the West by giving the players what they want. Hey, as I said, I had a permanent ban on Bilibili because of comments that I had made critical of China. Because I was so positive about Black Myth Wukong, I have been unbanned on the entire website. I think it's pretty fucking funny. Yeah.
Thing though.
Oh, for
the
sure.
issue that
I
the
know.
journalists that we're about to take a look at have with that part of the review isn't what I mentioned. They're actually mad at Sweet Baby Inc. simply even being referenced. For example,
Yeah.
this corpo journalist over at Polygon, etc., had this to say.
Who puts in your title, in your description, gay idiot? Like, I mean, I guess I have professional neckbeard, but like, I don't know, what is this? Gaming, yeah, big surprise. This person's going to be mad because they're trying to put their like their sexual orientation into a video game.
To say me when my brain is sludge and I cannot form a cohesive critique without being a dirtbag, and going on to post that part of the review that mentions Sweet Baby Inc. I noticed the journalist.
By the way, I actually think that some of the journalist criticism is accurate. Because Sweet Baby Inc., I don't think is some sort of harbinger of death for video games. I think the companies that pay them are the harbingers of death, and Sweet Baby is just the, they're just a scapegoat. That's what I think is happening.
Attempting to hide a response, so I went to take a look at it. This person pointing out how Kotaku has done similar things in their own way. And once again, the journalist's response to this was simply to try and hide the tweet. We can see another self-proclaimed journalist right here.
What
also
the
getting
F is
upset
this?
at DualShockers' reference of Sweet Baby Inc. A response.
See, this is what I'm saying, right? Is like in the professional space, this is the reason why basically all gaming people were saying, every games journalist website is owned by the same platform. I said, I didn't know that, and I already knew that. There's no real difference between IGN, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, Kotaku, or Polygon. They're basically all the same thing. They all have the same opinions. They push the same narrative. They have the same takes. And if somebody steps off of that, outside of that little box, they get in trouble. And that's what's happening right here.
Read, what the heck is this even about anymore? And someone else says sexism and bigotry. Same thing it's been since the beginning. As always, these people come off extremely fake. There's been verifiable evidence of racism and bigotry from Sweet Baby Inc. But go figure that these people will ignore that to defend the corpos. By the way, the person on top claims to be a CEO of a media consultation company. Journalist Jason Schreier would also comment on this, saying, this from a review on Metacritic is truly unhinged, not just because of the dog whistling, but because of the divine power that idiots keep ascribing to consultants. Hate to break it to you folks, but the people making key decisions at game companies aren't on contract.
This is the problem with somebody like Jason Schreier, is that half of what he's saying is absolutely fucking true. Think about how stupid it is to imagine that the people that are making key decisions on the game are from some random fucking consultancy company. Completely fucking retarded. Absolutely not. However, it's not dog whistling, and you can't just keep insulting the intelligence of people and pretending like, oh, this stuff doesn't matter. Tell people that, oh, well, this isn't happening. You can't do that forever. You're going to kill you're going to kill all of your credibility. You're just misrepresenting what people complain about. Well, I actually think that it's a lot simpler. Jason Schreier is not against woke stuff. He thinks it's probably good. He probably falls onto the category that he thinks it's a good thing. So he's demonizing it. It's that simple. Is he really? Yeah. Half truth is still not a truth. Well, I think that it's okay to identify which side is which, right?
it comes off like he's really trying to deflect any of the issues that consultation companies bring to games. I've mentioned in many of my videos that I think it's unwise to put all the blame on consultation firms like SPI.
True.
Because ultimately these corporations are the ones willingly hiring them to begin with.
I've said
and of
this
course they
1,000
also
times.
make plenty of terrible decisions on their own. It's also a really bad move to ignore the issues that these consultation firms also bring. And yet it seems like Jason Schreier really doesn't want to acknowledge that. I also find it hilarious how he's attempting to say
it's
that
the underlying issue that they don't want to acknowledge. I think that it's very easy to acknowledge that some consultancy companies might have bad ideas, but it's basically like they don't want to acknowledge that this is an issue that people care about. And like this is what's happened is like it's created a growing disconnect between like the establishment media and the player base. And you see this reflected in YouTube video like dislikes. You see it reflected in like Steam reviews or in Metacritic scores.
simply referencing Sweet Baby Inc. is a dog whistle, as if people aren't even allowed to say Sweet Baby Inc.'s name. On occasion, Schreier has actually done pretty good investigative work in the gaming space, so it's too bad due to suffering from such political brain rot. Over here, we have a senior reporter.
Well, everybody's going to have some opinions you agree with, some opinions you don't agree with, right? I mean, sure. But like, whenever you try to piss on people and tell them it's raining, they're going to get mad at you, because fundamentally you're insulting their intelligence. And I think that's why so many people get frustrated about the language that journalists like this use.
At Kotaku, and he also posts that part of DualShocker's review that mentions Sweet Baby Inc., saying that it's utterly disqualifying. And the response is...
And see, here's the problem, is that a lot of these journalists think that they are... To say that it's disqualifying, the big issue is that people like this have been under the false impression that they are the gatekeepers of acceptability.
There you go.
They're not. The internet has completely made everything a meritocracy. There's no longer any sort of value that's ascribed to a person because they're at a certain platform. That doesn't make people take them more seriously at all.
Man,
and that's why these people are so against, in a lot of cases, like YouTubers and independent people. It's because those people are not, they don't have to play by the same rules.
Someone would say, actually shocking to have a major publication feed into right-wing talking points.
Of course, right? And this is like, and again, it's the implication that right-wing is bad.
That didn't really do it.
And this is like, again, no, being a conservative is not a bad, you're not automatically a bad person if you're a conservative. This is like a third grader take. Obviously, that's not the case. Especially when people think that a right-wing talking point is not allowing illegal immigration. Like, it's been extrapolated to such a degree that it just means nothing. It's a shortcut argument. Yeah, it's just exactly.
I find it crazy how many social media activists say that critiquing companies is now a right-wing thing to do. A response to that person would say, imagine thinking those are right-wing talking points, not people simply ticked off at the amount of slop and saying enough. Just look at all these AAA failures and mass layoffs over the last 2 years. The response...
Yeah, they wouldn't be doing mass layoffs if these games were actually successful. It's really simple. It just wouldn't be happening. Why would they be doing mass layoffs?
And that individual was to block that person. That reminds me of the journalist we talked about earlier, whose response to another tweet was to simply hide it. Here we have a self-proclaimed media games critic and sensitivity consultant, once again also posting the Sweet Baby Inc. mention in DualShocker's review.
Knocking all of this shit over? What? What does that even mean? Stop, hashtag stop Gamergate 2014? You have an NFT? Oh, nice. Fuck. Okay, that's clever. What the fuck?
And as you can see, getting pretty upset by it, saying they want to knock it all over. Wow, real tough guy here. This person claims to be a singer-songwriter featured in Ubisoft games, and they removed the part of the article mentioning Sweet Baby Inc., saying that they fixed it. A self-proclaimed PR marketing person would also comment on this, saying, man, what are we doing? I would really love it if I could assume most of the people I run into at professional industry social events are at the baseline good people, please.
Yeah, and this is the